Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest mailbag podcast. I'm Eric Kane alongside Grant Ramey, Austin Price, and Brent Hubbs. Appreciate you guys for sending in these questions. We do the mailbag podcast each and every Thursday right here on Volquest.com. So with that being said, we'll jump down into it. We'll start with Gaterdawg. How hard is it to separate your fandom from your work life? Anybody?
I don't find it difficult. Because the work is the work, and you got to do the same amount of work every week, whether they win or they lose. It doesn't change. Is life better? Is the general's quarters a lot more fun after wins? Sure, it is. Absolutely, it is. So selfishly, are you looking for wins for work? Yeah, it's good for business. It's really good for business. But you still got to do the work. It's not like you can go home and curl up in a fetal position because they lost on Saturday. Well, I'm just mad. I'll deal with it middle of next week. You got to just keep grinding right along and do what you do.
The best thread Saturday night was this loss is so bad, I'm not even looking forward to basketball season anymore. Which I couldn't figure out how the two things went together. But, I was listening to the post-game mini-pod when I was walking to the car, and Austin was saying, these next 3 weeks are just going to be terrible. Life is better when they're winning. Business is better. The sunshine is warmer. Everybody's happy. Everybody's in a good mood. And when they lose the way they did, especially the way they did Saturday night and the way they've lost this season, it just makes everybody miserable, and it's rough.
Well, and when you have a loss like you did Saturday night, and then you have a bye week, and then after that you have New Mexico. It's just like a 3-week yep. Where you get to Florida, and then we've all seen that movie 400 times. It's like let's spin the wheel and let's see what kind of crazy way we can find a way to lose this game, whatever it lands on. So,
and it's also on a few days before the first college football playoff rankings, and it takes all the air out of that balloon. I remember last season thinking all of November, I'm just glad Tennessee's in this conversation and we're not having to deal with the bowl discussion. But here we are a year later having to deal with the bowl discussion and being irrelevant on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, in terms of the team winning being good for business, if you want any further evidence, go look at the Locked On Vols YouTube channel and look at the views this week. After the Saturday night, or really Sunday mid-morning reaction show, the views have been down. So business is great when your team wins and you're in the playoff hunt and all that.
Maybe it's the host.
What is this Locked On Vols that you're talking about?
I've got business cards. You want one?
I've got one in my backpack. I can give it to you, AP.
There's one in the coach's box in Neyland Stadium's press box for Tennessee. You can get one.
Eric left it in there earlier in the year and put for advice. Here, call this. Maybe they should.
The rudest thing I've ever done to Eric Kane is on the way back from Alabama, I asked him for a business card so I could try to pick something out of my teeth.
Disrespectful.
That's what he thinks of Locked On Vols.
Luckily for him, I have 255 more.
It didn't work either.
Grant, is that the card that's in your backpack still?
No, I got that's my actual one that I hang on to that I get Eric to sign every now and then.
Was it so cheaply made, Grant, that it just disintegrated in your mouth and you're like?
Yeah, I was curled up. Speaking of the fetal position, I got food poisoning from that thing, from the ink on that card. It was so cheap.
Boys. We got plenty more to go around, all right? Anybody want one? It's right here. Little QR code on there. All right.
QR code. Did you touch it? Did you touch it?
I tapped the QR code, yeah. Hey, AP, 3 years later, every time he does that, I still tap the screen.
Yeah, Packer goes, tap the screen. That's not how it works, Mark.
That's not how it works, Mark. All right, let's move on. Let's go to iHeartVols. Does Heupel emphasize General Neyland's maxims through 9 games? How would you grade the team A through F on each of them? So, I'm going to pull up his maxims right here, and we're going to go through them. If you can read that, I don't think you guys can read that.
No.
Let me try to.
Holy moly!
Try to enlarge the screen.
Hold on a minute, look at full dually here.
There we go. That's better.
There we go.
All right. Maxim number 1: the team that makes the fewest mistakes wins.
F.
Anybody else, or is it an F?
Well, let me first answer his first question. Yes, they emphasize the maxims. Yes, they talk about the maxim. Yes, they read the maxims. That is a part of what they do. So let's get that part out of the way, and then if you want to grade, then we'll grade from there. Tennessee's made too many mistakes. way too many mistakes. So they have not passed that. They have not passed maxim number 1.
Number 2, play for and make the breaks when one comes your way. Score. Didn't do it enough, I feel like, this year. Did it once on Saturday, not the other time.
I mean, not to beat a dead horse, it's when one comes your way, run it 3 times and punt it back. That's what it's been this season. Like,
yeah, I would say
I don't know what the problem is there.
I would say C on 1. I would say F on 2 because they've not been able to get the big momentum shifts and go their way.
If at first the game or the breaks go against you, don't let up. Put on more steam.
I don't think this team has collapsed when things have gone bad. I think they have. When they've had a bad play, I do think they have fought back. They certainly didn't quit against Oklahoma.
They could have got run out of the stadium against Georgia based on the way that third quarter was going, and they found a way to turn it. They could have lost at Mississippi State. They found a way to win that game.
The best example of that is with what happened to them at the end of the first half against Alabama. You thought that game was going to be a rout, and Tennessee actually gets a stop, scores, gets a turnover, and then doesn't take advantage of number 2 maxim. But they've done a good job with the third one.
Protect our kickers, our quarterback, and our lead in our ball game. So I think for the most part, not the last couple of games because they've kind of had an uptick in sacks, but for the most part this year, I think Tennessee's now at allowing 12 sacks. They've done a pretty decent job. Again, need to get better here in the last couple of games. Protect our kickers.
Yeah, I mean, they've been fine there. But, I mean, they had a lead against Georgia in the fourth quarter, couldn't hold it. Had a lead against Oklahoma at 17-16. Still a lot of time left to play, but they got the lead there. Didn't hold it. So I mean, 2 of those 3 they've done a pretty good job. They haven't held a lead well enough in a couple of games, but they have held the lead in some other games. So average.
This one's going to be tough, but I will say better of late. A season low 5 missed tackles against Oklahoma, but let's get into this one. Ball, Oski, cover, block, cut, slice. Pursue and gang tackle for this is the winning edge. Overall in the season, that's an F.
Yeah, they've not tackled well enough. And I think you have to be careful a little bit of not getting caught up in too much fool's gold with the Oklahoma play because I don't think that's a very good Oklahoma offense. I don't think you're worried about them stretching the field on you, which allowed you to play downhill. Allowed you to be a better tackling team. They did not challenge you laterally as much, and certainly they did not challenge over your head, which other teams are going to do. But they did play better, so you give them credit for playing better there, but I don't know that they've solved all their problems there.
Press the kicking game. Here is where the breaks are made. Not a passing grade, in my opinion. Kicking game, not just a field goal kicker, but the special teams, the kicking game. Tennessee is non-existent in the return game, kick return game. They booted through the end zone, which is good. The majority of the time on kickoff. Punt return's not been a factor whatsoever. Max Gilbert's made field goals. He's missed a couple of big ones. You know, it's not been as big of a factor as it needs to be.
And
so I would go
exactly where you thought he'd be. Like, you know, very consistent. All those things.
I mean, I think their coverage teams have been good. They've obviously kicked it through the end zone, but they have not made a play or made a break. And I mean, Boo had a couple of early returns. Then you take him off the field, and he's fair catching thing. I mean, I don't know that they've tried to press the kicking game very hard, particularly in the return game.
Feels like punt return has been on tilt since Mississippi State. And maybe it was Georgia, I guess, where Boo bobbled one or maybe had to jump on one or something like that. But it feels like ever since then it's just been hold your breath and hope something bad doesn't happen instead of hope something happens that can change the game.
Last one, carry the fight to our opponent and keep it there for 60 minutes.
I think they played hard. I don't think there's an effort issue in any way with this football team. Have they played smart? Have they played smart enough? No. Have they had catastrophic mistakes? Yes. Are those simply because somebody's not trying? There's no effort given there. I don't think you can say that about this team at all. I think this team has played hard.
And that'll be for sending your questions in. That's this week's Volquest podcast. No, I'm playing. It was just a long question, but I mean, like the poster's point is valid. Like they don't have a lot of A's in the maxims, right? Like, I mean, at minimum, you got a lot of B's and C's and some less than that. So, which again, it's not that from a lack of pushing that, they just haven't done it.
I feel like they play 60 minutes. I feel like they haven't put together a full 60 minutes, anywhere close to a full 60 minutes. Because it feels, and I was thinking about this driving home the other night. It's like that whack-a-mole game at the carnival or at the arcade. Like every time something has come up, they've hit it, and then something else pops up, and they got another problem. Like when the explosives were there, the run game wasn't there. When the run game was there, the explosives weren't there. They finally had no penalty issues Saturday night against Oklahoma. The defense looked like it had a pulse. The offense turns it over and can't be relied on. It feels like just every time they've tried to address one thing, something else has popped up, and it's never been all there together.
Yeah.
They don't play complimentary football, Brent.
Right.
I mean, Grant, you said it best, and Austin, you reinforced it. I mean, they have not been at their best in all three phases of a game when they have to be to win big ball games. I mean, they just haven't been. And, has one side of the ball given them a chance, for all of a game or part of a game? Yes, but they have not played all three phases at the 60-minute level you need to be an elite football team.
All right, we'll move on now. Who all do you see leaving at the end of the year? Tell me now, AP. Not Boo. We all know he is gone, but I think we could see a wide receiver exodus like the DB room last year due to playing time. Also, could you see Mathews trying to renegotiate a deal here? All right, let's break it down into sections here.
Let's go ahead and go with this one, Hover, because you and I had a fun time talking about this last night on the phone. What wide receiver leave?
I don't get the wide receiver. I don't know why anybody would think the wide receiver group is going to have a mass exodus. I think Chris Brazel's going to the National Football League.
Yes.
Okay. Rodarius Jackson's playing after missing half the year. So why would he be disgruntled over a lack of playing time? I mean, he's played in every game he's dressed for, if I'm not mistaken. And he played and got the ball thrown to him against Kentucky. He played in the Oklahoma game. I think you'll see him play more. Travis Smith is in a walking boot and has not played in a month. I don't know when he's going to be back. I'm not sure why he would be upset over playing time when you haven't dressed and you haven't played. There's really nobody left, right? I mean, Joakim Dotson is – I don't think anybody thought Dotson was going to be a big factor this year because he didn't get here till June. So I don't know why that room would have a bunch of disgruntled players in it. I don't think they have an issue in the wide receiver room. Now, are those guys going to want more money? Sure. Braylon Staley going to want more money? He should, right? I mean, that's just a fact of it. But I don't know why that group would be disgruntled, AP.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I don't really don't understand the question in a lot of ways. I think Tennessee went into the season with little to no depth in the room. So why would the little bit of depth they have be upset? As for other positions, we'll see. I will maintain that people like Caleb Beasley, who's not played or played very little, would be a prime candidate to go to the portal. Jeremiah Hurd, Gage Ginther, those type players are a prime example of it. What happens with like some of these other guys? Josh Josephs, is going to move on, but is Caleb Herring ready to move up to the big spot, or is what's going on there with him? On the offensive side of the ball, it doesn't feel like anybody's going to leave. Like a Cole Harrison, I would expect to potentially look around because he's kind of buried at tight end. But for the most part, I do think there's going to be some defections. I do think they're going to have some roster turnover, but I don't, as of right now, I don't think it's anybody that like you go, oh no. And to be honest with you, I think 98% of all rosters should be, okay, let's just go get another guy. I think you're between 2 and 10% of players that you're like, I can't replace that guy. I think you can replace a lot of these players. We
talked about it a couple weeks ago, but do you still think, and again, there's just an impossible way of knowing right now, but the running back room, do you think there's not going to be anybody that leaves there? I could see.
Potentially, where's Peyton Lewis feel like? Star Thomas is moving on, right?
Yeah.
So, he's gone. So, Deshaun Bishop's not going anywhere. Where's Peyton Lewis's frustration level? Because he's running number 3 and getting a handful of carries a game and all that. DeJuan Morris, did he want more out of this season? Again, we'll see at those spots, but I don't. no matter who leaves, I don't think there's anybody that's leaving where you go, okay, we can't replace that person.
Well, here's the interesting thing. One, there's no way to answer the question. Okay. And I know what the poster's asking, and I'm not saying it's a bad question, but he's wanting you to speculate on 90 guys on the roster, and try to read in, well, Austin said this, that means this guy's unhappy, or that means this coach has done this or that. I mean, that's what comes out of these questions. So I'm not faulting the question, but you also have to consider this, Grant. Look how many openings there are in the SEC. And because there's openings in the SEC, there's going to be more roster turnover potentially in this conference than you normally see. Auburn's going to be looking for football players because all those guys aren't staying. Florida, Arkansas, LSU. Are there any other potential openings? Because there's openings within the proximity and in the conference, Grant, I think that means you have to be on guard, because how many of these guys came to a Tennessee or came to a Kentucky or came to a Georgia or wherever because they wanted to play in, quote, the best league, the basically the NFL of college football in the SEC. Does that make them more potentially interested in moving because there's going to be so much freedom of movement potentially in this league with the coaching changes?
And it's not limited to the SEC. I mean, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Penn State, what other openings there are, and Oklahoma State. I mean, there's still a month left in the season. I don't think the SEC's probably not done either in terms of coaching changes. So it's not just the league; it's just the insanity in the amount of turnover that we've already seen, and there's still 4 weeks left, 5 weeks left.
So you think
how many? Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, you think that they're going to fire Stoops with that buyout?
No.
Or the crazy. So who else do you think could be gone?
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, is Clark Lee going to entertain another job? Does Penn State call?
That's true.
Okay. Is James Franklin going to be the Virginia Tech guy? What's Shane Beamer thinking right now at South Carolina? Does he feel like he needs a reset? Okay. What happens if somebody leaves another school to take a job? Is there another opening that hasn't happened yet that you looked at? What if Eli Drinkwitz can get another job? Well, there's an opening there. What if he lands somewhere? What if Mark Stoops can get a job? I mean, if Mark Stoops could get Oklahoma State, does he consider taking that? Is it time for him to get a reset? I mean, there's so many variables out there that could create no more changes in this league, or you could look up and see 3 or 4 more coaches in this league moving around. I mean, you don't have any idea right now.
Here's the thing about Stoops. Unless you have a deal that's going to give you the financial security of your Kentucky deal, in other words, another spot that's going to give you a fairly hefty buyout, why would you not just sit there and wait on the $40 million?
Because you should have enough money in your life.
Got divorced in the last couple of years, and so I wonder how much of that went to the ex-wife. I mean, I'm not. Again, I'm just talking out loud, right?
Yeah, but here's another thing too. At some point in time, I mean, even if she took half his money, he should have some financial security. Okay, so I mean, do you want to sit there where you know you're not wanted, and do that misery again because they're not going to fire you, so you're just going to hold out, hoping that they fire you, knowing that your buyout's going to drop by whatever it drops by next year? Or do you go reset and say, hey, let's go reinvigorate ourselves and have fun and have somebody pay me $7-8 million? Now, can he get another job? I don't know that he can because they haven't won enough. But I mean, I don't think you just necessarily look at the zeros in your bank account and say, well, I'm digging my heels in here. You're going to give me my money versus, man, my life's miserable. I'm ready for a new address. I'm ready for a change of location.
Well, I mean, think about how close he was to getting that Texas A&M job.
No, I know.
Think about that.
So that's my point. You know, he's been looking for a change of address. The question is, can he get it?
Yeah.
Versus just stay there and get fired at some point and get a check.
You think Texas A&M fans spend much time thinking about that moment in time? Like
there are 2 things Texas A&M fans have not thought about. 1, Mark Stoops. 2, the number of zeros on the check written to Jimbo Fisher, because they could give a rat's rear end right now.
Because there's still a 0 in the win-loss record. There's
Exactly
still a 0
right.
in the 8-0 and the ranked number 3 or whatever it is.
No. Hey guys, want to tell you about Home Field Apparel. It's the exclusive apparel sponsor of Volquest.com this football season. It is going right along, man. Only a couple more games left. The weather's getting cooler, and you can certainly be decked out and in style going to Neyland Stadium this football season, the rest of this football season, or maybe even on the road with home field apparel. Can't miss Kickoff 2025 campaign. You can get football boxes, coaching jackets, bomber jackets, and more of these football boxes. Never before seen items to the University of Tennessee that are not available anywhere else. Curated so fans can have new gear to wear all season long, suitable for all weather conditions. Halloween was last week. My little boy, 6 months old, he was Smokey. Me and my wife, we put on a bunch of Tennessee gear, and we all just kind of walked around. He didn't trick or treat, but we all kind of walked around, had a good time. I wore this beautiful orange back-to-back SEC championship shirt from 97 to 98 from Home Field Apparel. Gorgeous stuff, man. It was a blast. It felt good, and that's just one of the items from Home Field that I have that I love wearing, and I think you guys would as well. They specialize in vintage college designs, and they've got some amazing stuff in their Tennessee collection. You can check it all out today. That is homefieldapparel.com. Go to homefieldapparel.com today to go ahead and get started. Big shout out to Home Field Apparel, and also big shout out to Dollar Shave Clubs. When you rep your team, don't stop at just the jersey. Dollar Shave Club's collegiate razor handles combine grooming with glory, letting students, grads, and fans show their school spirit and style. From the sink to the stadium, shave with school pride. Visit dollarshaveclub.com to grab your college handle today, and go Vols. DolittleVol, do we see more Merklinger or MacIntyre if the game gets out of hand next week? I would assume they're going to try to do everything they can to do even Stevens there, but they gypped MacIntyre earlier in the year. So I think they need to make it abundantly clear they need to make sure he gets some run. But I do think Merklinger is going to be the first one in the game because that's kind of how it's been.
Well, I mean, that's how you would assume. That ain't what I would do. That is not what I would do.
I mean, I agree. That's not what I would do either.
January. So you're wasting reps on a guy who's not going to be here. And so I would give everything to George again, but that's not me, or I'm not the head coach, so I don't make those decisions. That's why they pay him $9 million over there to make those decisions. But you're right. George better get some adequate run, and I don't mean going in with 6 minutes to go in the fourth and handing it off. Like that there lies the problem when you didn't get him in the game at UAB, and now you're to New Mexico State. If he doesn't get ample run, I mean, to me, you want somebody like that who you perceive to be a heavy contender to be your starting quarterback in 2026, along with Faizon coming in, to want to build some momentum heading into the offseason. And this is the last real game to build momentum because you're probably not going to play against Florida or Vanderbilt.
I mean, if all goes according to plan, and I don't think they would ever do this before halftime, I mean, Aguilar needs to be out of the football game in the second quarter. I mean, Tennessee's going to go up 35-0 at some point in the second quarter. It's like, get him out there, let Jake finish the half or whatever, and then ride with George in the second half. But it's not gonna work out that way, in my opinion. Outside of every starter wanting more money, which players who have been under the radar NIL-wise has played into a potentially nice increase? Top of my head goes to Spillman, Nathan Robinson, Staley, who we mentioned earlier, and Jaden Perlotti.
Oh, I would put Jesse Perry in that category.
Yep.
I would put Ty Redmond in that category. As two guys there. I don't think Perlotti goes into that category because I think that he probably got a pretty nice deal to come to Tennessee because of how highly regarded he was. But given what they have gotten done this year, to me, those are a couple guys that jump out to me. But at tight end, Austin, they're probably Van Dorselaer is probably one there as well. So there'll be some.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, for all of the talk of, a bunch of money went to Boo, a bunch of money went to, DBs that got hurt, there are also those that, you got good value out of, and that happens every year. I mean, Dalton Connect was here for $125,000, everybody. That's pretty good value for that guy, right? Dylan Sampson, similar number. Pretty good value for the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. So for all of the, they overpaid and didn't get anything out of this or that talk, there's also ones that you got great value on. And so on this team, Staley's probably, the best value that you've gotten, and you would expect him to get a big bump, and he should expect that. Same thing with, as Hub said, Jesse Perry, great value. Van Dorselaer, really good value. Ty Redmond, really good value for what you've gotten out of those young kids.
Black Diamond Vol, any idea whether Elander will change up Tony's scheduling philosophy? I know it's hard to get big-time opponents in for the midweek after conference play starts, but it would be nice to see a couple of ranked teams come to Knoxville, or we go there early in the season. It's a great question. I can tell you that obviously this season's schedule, though they haven't announced it officially, I mean, it's set. Like that's not going to change. Tennessee's going to host Nicholls State, Kent State, and Wright State in non-conference home weekends. And then, there's a lot of midweek games. I mean, there's a couple of, recent regional teams and all that, but it looks pretty standard to what we've seen the last couple of years. Now, moving forward, Elander, let's think of his coaching tree. Like, he played at TCU, coached at Arkansas, coached at Tennessee. It's not that extensive, but Geralman, the new associate head coach, let's look back at his coaching tree. Like, where are these connections in their past stops? Potentially you could see, scheduling a weekend series or a midweek at somewhere like that. But I do think that they need to get a little bit more competitive games at points and times. I think it's good for your program. I think it's good to have something to play for that's meaningful on a Tuesday night. But for this year, it's already set. We'll see what happens in years to come. But knowing that Elander has really only coached under Tony for the majority of his coaching life, he might not know any different at this point in time.
Well, here's the question I think you have to ask as a baseball coach. One, what's the value in playing someone that you can do what Tony has done, and that's play 7 different lineups and 7 innings, and you can throw 12 different pitchers and basically turn it into an inter squad, or turn it into a scrimmage game? Or do you play different competition so you can get a 9-inning game, because now you get so many of those 7-inning affairs because of the run rule deal? So I think that's what you're trying to figure out the balance in, because clearly Tony was interested in playing a game where he could throw 11 pitchers in 7 innings or 9 innings or whatever they ended up being. Do you want to continue that in your pre-conference to try to get his guys as much experience as they can against other hitters and not your own? Or do you feel like you need to be more in closer games so that you can understand everybody understands what you have to do and the intensity that you have to play with? I think that's the balance that you're looking at. Tony's philosophy is very clearly, we're going to use the pre-conference slate as scrimmage games. That's what he went about it.
Yeah. Is that not what everybody does though? Or are there a lot of big time midweek matchups in college? It feels like, and I'm
more than you think. I mean,
well, it depends on who you have. So part of it's a regional thing too, yes. Right? I mean, Georgia's going to play Georgia Tech because that's an easy trip for both teams. Florida and Florida State will play because they're Florida and Florida State. They'll play a matchup there, because it's a non-conference rivalry game. I mean, Tennessee doesn't really have any of those, right? I mean, there's a few here and there in the preseason. I mean, I think Tennessee needs to upgrade their schedule. But I think there's a lot of teams, Eric, that are also playing a lot of, 13-2 games too in the pre.
No, yeah, the overwhelming majority does it like Tennessee does it. But again, I'm glad you pointed that out. I was going to say, I mean, a lot of it's regionally, right? I mean, it's easier for Florida to have more of those games than Tennessee. Now, in the same sense, in my opinion, there's no excuse for Tennessee not playing Virginia Tech on a Tuesday night. There's no excuse for Tennessee not playing Georgia Tech on a Tuesday night. Like, you can make that happen. That's easy. Now, Tennessee playing Duke or Carolina or Wake, it's a little bit further for a Tuesday night, in my opinion. But I think a lot of it has to do with regionally. But also, I think that they could make more of an effort to have some of those types of games. But there's still going to be the overwhelming is going to be UNC Zjsvols, the Bellarmins, the Belmonts, and teams of that nature.
Yeah, Clemson would get my vote. Let's do Clemson.
Yeah. I mean, I think you
play Water State.
I think you can find a better weekend series than Wright State. No offense to Wright State, and I know they've been good. They've had some runs in regionals and things like that. But I think fans would like to see more of a name come in if you can get a name school to come in like that.
Yeah, keep Wright State. Get rid of Nicholls State. Get rid of the Kent State. I mean, golly, those teams are never sniffing NCAA regional play. So. BlazeVol, do you see Boo Carter getting any snaps, whether special teams or defense, for the rest of the season?
I got no idea.
Somebody asked on the board, here's where I am with Boo Carter. Somebody asked on the board Sunday morning, did he play any defensive snaps? And I had to go to Pro Football Focus to look up the snap counts, and I didn't even realize Saturday night as it was happening that he was never on the field defensively, according to their snap counts.
I realized it, but for the majority of the game, and I'm not saying it's because of this, but the majority of the game, Tennessee was playing good defense. So like it wasn't glaring, you know. But yeah, it was not one defensive snap, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you know, with the effort at Kentucky, I mean, you get what you earn, and you know, he earned the chance to be in the position he was in heading into the season based off last season, and then he decided to go missing in action in the month of July. Still had multiple meltdowns during August, and they let him hang around with the injuries, and he's just been subpar. So you get what you earn, and right now he's lost the chance to earn real playing time.
AJ Lewis, it's probably PTSD from the second-year freshman quarterback we started last year, but does Heupel put a line in the water to see if any quarterbacks want to bite? He mentions a couple here, but I think all of these guys are NFL bound, unless I'm wrong. Grant, Sellers, Hoover, Levitt, a few come to mind. All those guys are going to the league. I understand risk with Faizon coming in and George on deck, but the experienced quarterback has proven to be successful in Heupel's offense. I think this is really interesting moving forward. I'm not saying specifically for this offseason, because you do have a really talented guy in Faizon Brandon coming in. You like George. But look at the success Heupel's had, right? Pruitt brought him here, but Hooker, very successful. Obviously, Aguilar is very successful. Look around the country. Look at the playoff teams last year. Transfer quarterback, transfer quarterback, transfer quarterback. This is a bigger conversation, I feel like. Will Heupel entertain this more in the future? I don't know. I think that's obviously up for discussion.
Well, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer here. And what I mean by that is if George or Faizon hits, then you got multiple years with those guys and with one of those guys, and then all of a sudden you don't have this quarterback question. If they don't hit, then everybody's screaming at the top of the lungs, you should have gone and gotten a transfer quarterback, because transfer quarterbacks are the answer. I don't know that Miami feels like that the transfer quarterback was the right thing for them this year. I mean, they got $4 million invested supposedly in Carson Beck, and they're not. I mean, they're a 2-loss team, and he's a large reason why they're a 2-loss team in the way that he played in the 2 losses. So I think it's interesting in that there is no. I don't, and this is part of the issue that we have, I think, in sports today. It's either all this or it's all that. It can't be something in between. And I don't know that there is a definitive, this is one way to go. This is not, this is another way to go. If you're going to go young, then it's your job as coaches making millions of dollars or near millions of dollars as position coaches to get those guys ready to play. That's your responsibility. If you're going to be a young football team, Austin, then you have to go through young mistakes, but it's your job to get that guy ready to play if that's the direction you're going versus going to get an experienced guy out there. So, I don't know that there is a right answer.
There's not. Look at the top teams of college football. Indiana, transfer. Alabama, high school ranks, developed him. Texas A&M, high school ranks, developed him. Even a team like Oregon's kind of like a hybrid to that, right? Like they got to transfer, but they got to transfer at the end of his freshman year, and then develop Dante Moore as he sat behind Dylan Gabriel for a year. So, like, again, to your point, there is no right or wrong answer. There's multiple paths to finding your quarterback of the future.
Now, I will say this, with the success transfer quarterbacks are having, Carson Beck maybe aside, but you look at some of these other guys that are having success, A, it yields you to think that way, but B, it also means the market value of transfer quarterbacks is really high. It's always been high out of the desperation move, but right now you look at what the Chambliss kid's done at Ole Miss, you look at what Aguilar's doing at Tennessee.
Cam Ward last year.
Who?
Cam Ward last year.
Yeah, but Cam Ward was a proven commodity. He had played at the Power 5 level.
I know, but I'm saying he was still a transfer, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, Carson Beck's a transfer. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about a guy that Chambliss was making about $12 at Ferris State, and you could go get him. I mean, Joey Aguilar was basically at. Oh,
you're talking about guys you picked up on the scrap heap.
Yeah, and those guys have performed well. So does that intrigue everybody into going and getting the guy who's at whatever small school that's not making a lot of money? Now, but now Geno Lopez, right, Grant, has been at North Carolina. He was supposed
I think would be an upgrade.
That's Grant's guy.
But wasn't he supposed to be that guy, like the lower level guy who was supposed to step in and change the world, so to speak?
He was.
I mean, look at the kid that went from Tulane. Was it Tulane to Duke? Yeah, and got that big payday over there. I mean, he's been okay. He's not the best.
I mean, what is Duke? Third in the ACC? Second or third in the ACC? I mean, Duke's doing pretty well.
It stole that game from Clemson last week.
Yep, they did.
All I know is there's teams catching strays on this podcast. New Mexico State, Wright State, Ferris State.
Nickel State.
Basically,
if it's a state,
Trash. Any word on upperclassmen leaning towards returning for senior year, or is it too early to tell? Run down those upperclassmen, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to tell. I mean, like a guy like Arion Carter, I think 6 weeks ago, Arion, in his mind, was headed to the NFL. Then he got double turf toe, and you just wonder, like, where's he at mentally right now? What's the NFL going to say about him? Heading into January when he's going to make a decision. Otherwise, which is
Wendell Moy.
Again, you talk to different people over there. Some say he's going to go. Some doesn't think he wants to. Some think he likes the college experience and would like to come back. So we'll see there. I think Lance Hurd would be gone. As Hubs pointed out earlier in the podcast, Chris Brazzell, same thing. I'll tell you one. Yeah, I mean, I think Colton Hood's probably going to be gone. Again, what's the feedback? Now, I'll tell you one that if he has a decent last 3-game stretch, I think would just take a flyer on himself is David Hobbs. I'm not sure he just loves going to class a whole lot. So that's one to watch over the next handful of weeks. And I know he missed the first month of the year, but where's he at mentally? Because I don't think, again, I think he loves Tennessee. He loves going to class.
All of it's going to depend on what your stock looks like based on how much money you could make to come back.
Yes.
It's a business decision, straight up.
Does Heupel consider looking in the portal for a kicker?
I would say no. But
you would say what?
I would say no.
Depends on where. I mean, assuming everybody's back, where are you with some depth there? I mean, right now Josh Turbeville's the number 2 guy for every position,
and he's back for another year.
Should be back for another year. Yes.
He's got to college forever.
Got to get in the market for some shorts. That's the difference.
So I don't know. I mean, it depends on. Do you feel like you need another body there for some depth purposes? I'm not sure.
Yeah, more range of motion, Grant. A little bit more freeing to.
That's right.
Kick those 3 50-yard field goals through. I've noticed that Coach Heupel has never used a trick play during his tenure at Tennessee. Is he the only coach at UT to never do this? I can't remember a head coach that didn't utilize one during this tenure. I'm talking flea flickers, surprise onside kicks, etc. He threw a double pass against UT Martin.
Yeah, that's right.
Princeton fan.
Of 66 to whatever. They threw a double pass with Princeton fan against UT Martin. That's exactly right.
There's been no fake punts. There's been no double passes outside of that one. There's been
double passes used against them. They've had fake punts used against them.
Yes. Just not. It feels like that's just something that Heupel just doesn't really like to entertain much, Brent.
No, I think he believes if he's going for it on 4th down, he wants his 11 guys out there on offense versus a trick play and the punt.
And he wants his big boys out there, Brent and Jumbo.
Yeah. How many tight ends out of that 11?
I think the other thing too is, I think that they've been probably successful enough offensively that if you were going to use one, it should have been last year. I don't know that this offense needs trick plays given the way that they've moved the ball. What they need to do is not turn it over. But a year ago, maybe, you should have found a trick because you were having a hard time scoring, but not this year.
Your wife's pool boy wants to know, being offensive minded, does Heupel allocate more NIL rev share money to that side of the football in general? Are offensive players more expensive than defensive players? Injuries aside, does Josh Heupel allocate enough resources for the defense to be successful?
Sure he does. I mean, quarterbacks skew everything. So, you got to take that position totally off the table. I know it still counts, but they're always going to cost more than every other position. But the amount of money that they've got in the money that I had in James Pierce a year ago, the amount of money they've got in a guy like Arion Carter or Ricky Gibson or Jermon McCoy or Boo Carter, and that's why there's the frustration of how much money's been spent on the secondary of guys that either are injured, and that's not their fault, or you've got nothing out of Boo all year long. So, but yeah, I mean, they money is put into the defense. Absolutely.
Would you guys say it's like you got to take Grant and just kind of put him aside because Grant's salary skews everything as well?
That's right.
I think that was Matt Ray. Matt Ray has the big money.
Matt did get that birthday bump this week too, so. Yeah.
I'm one of those you sunk a lot of money into. There's no return on investment. You're really kicking yourself.
Right.
Really kicking yourself.
Move on. Next question.
No. I'm going to tell a story before we go any further because I like to tell stories like this. And Grant's not heard the story. So we're out there interviewing recruits after the game Saturday night, and Matt is interviewing DJ Jacobs. And he's like, now you remember who came, Matt's like, yeah, you remember who came watch you play? And the kid's like, yeah. And I said, trust me, Matt, he's not forgetting. At this point, DJ's walking away. And I said, trust me, Matt, he's not going to forget your accent. And DJ Jacobs lost it. Like, I know I've got a twang. I'm from the South. I get it. But like Matt's got that extra. And so it was the best because the kid got tickled by it. That was the best.
It works. It works.
I've never noticed his accent.
Nobody can do a Matt Ray like Scott Altizer.
Oh, and nobody can do a Jeremy Pruitt like you. WakeVol, is there going to be any? Is there going to be an answer / solution to pre and post game disasters around the stadium? Too much money spent by our fans to have to deal with this disaster this admin has created this season. Talking about entering and exiting the stadium, garage 10, and other parking areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that you look at and you continue to look at every year. They'll have to do a total evaluation of that at the end of this season. What can they do better? Some of that's out of their control, and some in terms of the traffic pattern. They don't have, the university doesn't have the say in that because that's a lot of that's the KPD in terms of traffic pattern with vehicles. But yeah, I mean, I think you always have to look at that and what can you do better in the, upper south, the upper deck in the south side, which has been a problem. There's not a lot of foot space up there. What's caused the issues now? All that type of stuff. I mean, the only thing that's changed up there is you got 2 elevators going up there now that you didn't have going up there a year ago. Are those elevators location where people are getting off those elevators? Are they creating traffic pileups? All that kind of stuff. I mean, those are things that, you have to continue to look at because it has been frustrating for fans this year. I mean, it's not like it's one person who's talking about this. I mean, there are a lot of people talking about some of the frustrations. Now, I think some people have figured out ways that it's worked a little better for them, but there's still some things that I think they will continue and have to continue to look at.
It was Grant went to see his dad and his kids, and I went to see my kids because doing what we do back to the first question, doing what we do. We don't get to do the normal dad thing. So like in the pregame, I went down to see my kids and take them a drink and stuff. And walking back to the press box, I look over in the corridor hubs, and it was somewhere between gate 16 and gate 10, right? Like kind of almost across from the communication building there, where the communication building starts with the campus. And I look over, and there's those gates, and there's all these people, and they're looking in, and I'm like, this is like the scene from Titanic when the poor people are trying to get up to the top of the boat, and they're rattling the cage, and they can't get in. Like it was, I was like, wow, I just don't understand. I guess I couldn't grasp the backup at this point in time in the season. I'm not saying that you can't have that at some point, but it just seemed like a lot of congestion for no reason.
All right. Volstooge, if changes are made, will Heupel embrace the role of a CEO and find someone he trusts to call plays? Does this team need a general manager? Let's start with CEO and then general manager. Let's start with the whole conversation. Brent, you and I talked about this in the Rocky Top Rewind. Does Heupel seem like a guy that's going to relinquish in-game conversations about play calling and all that? Because it doesn't feel like that's something that he would do.
No, and I don't know exactly who's calling what and all those things. I know there's a lot of conversation that takes place between plays, during plays, and everything else. I mean, this is Josh Heupel's offense. I don't think he's going to relinquish, that. I think now, is he calling the play, or is he having a different conversation up there about future plays? I don't know what he's talking about when he's, pulling the laminated play sheet over his mouth and talking into his headset, which he does every play. I don't think that's going to stop. I think I mean, he's an offensive guy, and I think that's part of what he does, and it feels like it's his strength, and I don't see him giving up control of that.
Austin, does this team need a GM?
Well, they have the director of football management on their staff right now, and Billy High. I don't know what that means, but that's a new title that was given to Billy High, what, Austin, 8 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago, somewhere in there, back at the end of summer. I mean, what is that title? What does that entail?
It comes across as GM without saying GM.
Right, but I don't know what responsibility takes place there. The thing about the GM, Grant, that is, I mean, everybody does it differently. Like, does the GM at Alabama have the same say that that Ron Rivera has at Cal, or that Andrew Luck has at Stanford, or that Jim Nagy has at Oklahoma? I don't know. I mean, it's sometimes we create titles just to create titles so you can give somebody more money. And sometimes there are people with those titles that have a ton of responsibility. Everybody's doing it different ways as they try to navigate through roster management and the need there.
You need difference makers, not just people holding a title, right? I think you need a general manager if it's going to make a difference, if it's going to help you.
I would much rather see them put money towards either more players or a small amount of money towards someone who can help with, like understanding to go for 2 when you're down 9 or
game manager
when you're down 17.
Yeah.
I think the GM thing is such a nonsense, position. Because I just don't believe 80 to 90% of those people with that title aren't calling the shots. And so it's just like the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. The person behind the scenes actually calling the shots is not the same person that is the face of the thing.
I mean, NFL staffs have one person that's dedicated to time, situation, timeouts, that kind of game management. They have somebody on staff that spends his entire week combing through the rule book and figuring out and learning and trying to be able to take advantage and understand every situation that could pop up. Like, you're crazy if you don't have people like that on your staff, as big as these staffs are and as many people that are on the sideline wearing a polo. If you don't have somebody doing that and helping you out in that area, you're missing out.
Yeah, they have enough polos. They can find somebody to give them a polo for sure. Another part of this conversation, it's talking about strength conditioning. How much realistically does strength and conditioning help with injuries? I mean, first and foremost, football is a contact sport. ACLs are going to be, messed up, and shoulders are going to be messed up. I mean, it is what it is. But it's something we've talked about in the summer. Like, how many times over the last couple of years in the summer does it feel like this guy's got a nagging hamstring, or
soft tissue deals? They've had a lot of those.
Yeah, say you run into a series where you just keep getting shoulder injuries, and that's not happened. I'm just saying, what if you did? Like, if you see trends, then yeah, that's something you can point to in terms of the workouts and all that type of stuff. But overall, I mean, it's just, man, football's contact sport. Like in-game injuries, a lot of times you can't. There's not a whole lot you can do there. Let's go intentional vol. Brent made the point that we had to call a timeout before 4th down play call against Oklahoma, in part because we couldn't figure out what we wanted to run. Similar situations have happened multiple times this year. Do you think? What do you think contributes to the indecisiveness? Do you think there could be too much input with Halsey, Luttrell, Heupel, too many cooks in the kitchen type deal? We got to talk about this a little bit before, but this kind of has a different spin on it. Too much going on in those headsets maybe in those points and times?
I don't know. I mean, and it's one of those deals where as a play caller, you have to be thinking, if we don't get the first down here, what are we going to do? And and then if we do get the first down, what are we going to do? I mean, if you're going to go tempo, you're going to go fast, Grant, you've got to stay. Somebody upstairs who's in a controlled environment has to stay a play or two ahead for you. It's the choose your own adventure book, right? If this, you go to page 12. If this, you go to page 24. That's where they've got to be. Now, the problem with that one is, was Nathan Robinson, who was in on that play, was he standing back there? And I didn't notice it on the sideline. Was he sitting on the bench back there with Rodney Garner going over adjustments? or was he up there ready to go? You know, and so again, it's one of those things like, what are we going to do if it's 4th and short here? What are you going to do if it's, you know, if it's first down, that type of thing? That's I don't know what the chatter is on the headset to understand all that part of it.
Paralysis by analysis is what you're explaining.
Potentially. I mean, you know, particularly when you go fast. I mean, it's hard to stay a player or two ahead when you're not huddling up. And if you're going to go to an unusual personnel package, it's really hard to do that fast.
And if you have a choose your own adventure book, don't choose the adventure that ends with a play action pass to a tight end out of a heavy set.
It's not going well.
After a timeout, that's the key. You do it. You just can't call the timeout.
This is similar to somehow my wife and I have named 2 kids quicker than we have decided where to go eat dinner on a random Friday night. How does that make sense?
Family in America, okay?
Right. How does that make sense at all?
The next family that just goes, yeah, we'll all go to Fuddruckers. Let's go. Will be the first family that does it.
And then when we get there, we can't decide what we're going to eat when we get there. It's like we're having our death row meal. We got to pick. This is the last thing we're ever going to have.
All right, a couple more here. We got to go. Nashville's got 2, and then we have a writing question from Grant we'll get to. If you could add one thing to this coaching staff, what would you pick? Better player development, better high school recruiters, or more aggressiveness in the transfer portal?
Yes.
Yeah, everything.
I mean, there is no one. There is no. I mean, I'm trying to be. I mean, there is no one thing. I mean, look, you got to recruit better players, but you can't just say, well, we recruited 12 5-stars, so we're arrived. I mean, you got to develop those guys. I mean, David Sanders has to be developed. Faizon's going to have to be developed. George is going to have to be developed. Even the elite players have to be developed. So you got to have player development. You got to recruit better players. You got to make your roster better through the transfer portal. So the answer to that question is yes.
Do you think GMAC or Faizon can be better at quarterback than Joey was this year in 2026, or should fans expect a step back? I'm not.
Because we didn't know what Joey was going to be before this year started. Neither did Joey.
Or anybody on the coaching staff.
Joey is currently leading the SEC in passing yards by 400. Passing touchdowns by 1. He's 3rd in QB rating. I mean, I think it's
his receivers are also really good.
True.
Yeah, I would also add let this thing. Let's see what his numbers are going into the Vanderbilt game, because you're gonna have bye weeks that shake out that level some of this.
Well, but here's the thing that's going to happen. If Tennessee's going to win, he's going to put up big numbers.
Correct.
Because 3 of the last 5 games, Joey Aguilar has 40-plus passing attempts. Guess how many passing attempts of 40-plus times a quarterback had in the Josh Heupel era coming into the season? For a first in the Tennessee era at Tennessee, how many times had a quarterback thrown 40-plus passing attempts in a game before this season?
Well, we know
Hooker did it. Hooker did it twice, right?
Yes. And Joe did it once.
Yeah, 3 times.
Hold on. When did Joe do it?
It's happened 3 times. In the Heupel run at Tennessee, it's happened 3 times. In the last 5 games, it's happened 3 times with Joey Aguilar. My point is, he's going to keep putting up big numbers because Tennessee can't line up and run the football as effectively as they want to. So he's going to throw it a bunch if they're going to win at Florida and if they're going to beat Vanderbilt. He's going to have to throw it a bunch. So his numbers, I don't think the numbers next year, if the numbers next year are better than what Joey's got, then that means your run game is really trending in the wrong direction, Grant, because throwing it 45 times a game is too many times, I think. I mean, I think you got to have more balance than what Tennessee's got right now. They are very pass heavy.
I came into the season saying I just trust the run game numbers are going to be there because the run game numbers have always been there, and this season has broken my trust.
Yep.
Also, RIP my 10-2 prediction. We made it to November. The dream dies.
4 games remaining, counting the bowl game. Tennessee's going to have to average 231.7 yards per game to get to the 2,500-yard marker.
They're not going to make it.
Now, they could run for 500 yards against New Mexico State on Saturday, and that could help with that a little bit. But
not another stray for New Mexico State.
Is what it is. Yeah, so. But it's going to be tough for sure. Also, I know we got to move on. What game did Joe do it? Do you, off the top of your head, anybody know?
I don't remember. I looked it up that there was 3. I mean, I know Hooker did it against Pittsburgh.
Yes, he did. 21 of those went to Cedric Tillman.
Hooker did it in 2021 against somebody, and I don't remember who it was. And maybe the third one was Hooker. Maybe it wasn't Joe. I don't remember. Maybe it was Hooker twice.
Milton versus Alabama in 23. I looked.
Yeah, there you go. That was it. The 23 game versus
Purdue in the bowl game, Pitt in overtime for Hendon.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, last one, Grant. Some scheduling news for Tennessee basketball that made headlines yesterday, as Tennessee is going to be scheduling a home and home with Purdue.
They are going to start on the road at Purdue December 2026, and then Purdue is going to come to Knoxville December 2027. So that's a pretty big one. They've scheduled some big ones during the Rick Barnes era. It's been a minute since they've scheduled one, probably since North Carolina. That's kind of that magnitude. Obviously, Purdue's the preseason number one, went to the Final Four in 24, and has been really, really good for a long time under Matt Painter. So that's going to be a big one.
So Rick just wanted to schedule a game against a 7-footer in the post.
I was going to say it's really big, and Tennessee fans are probably going to hate it because of the recent history with Purdue and how miserable some of those games have been and the experiences. But yeah, I'm sure they'll have a 7'6", 300-pound guy that has 30 and 27 in that game, or in both of those games probably.
Yeah, but good for Coach Barnes. I mean, and this staff. I mean, they schedule as many challenging games as they can get, and that is a big one. Different style of play. I think that's important. You're trying to get quality opponents who also play a different brand of basketball, because you could see anything in postseason play. So you got to
and it's just tougher to do this the longer this goes on, because the ACC went to 20 conference games a while back, and the conference schedules are getting bigger. They're playing conference games before Christmas now. Tennessee has tried to get a lot more home and homes, and they've offered to start these things on the road, and it's still been a struggle to do it. I mean, they got Illinois, and then they got Illinois extended with a neutral site series. They got Louisville, but it's been a struggle where it's just been hard to get anything done, even when they offer to go on the road first.
This question from Austin_Price Grant: percentage on if Rick Barnes will be the coach when Purdue comes here in 2027.
You think that's what Purdue's banking on? Like we'll have Rick in 26 in West Lafayette, but who knows what's going to be happening at Tennessee in 2027?
You didn't answer the question, Grant.
63.456. Repeating.
All right, we will end there.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, heard it here first. We will end right there. This edition of the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. Appreciate you guys for sending in the questions, as you do each and every single week. A lot going on. Basketball happening on Saturday. Smokies Park for baseball coming up on Sunday. Recruiting. There's been tons from AP and Matt Ray all week long. Of course, football getting back out there next weekend, so no better time to join us than right now over at Volquest.com and on the General's Quarters. $1 for your first 7 days. $1 for your first 7 days. Come hang out with us. Join the best Tennessee football online community there is. That's on the General's Quarters at Volquest.com. For Grant Ramey, Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for sending in questions and hanging out with us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.